Hello there everybody, it's Donnie with Gallo Fly Fishing Lodge, and today I'm going to share a pretty special little fly for Dorado. I was fishing one time and saw a Dorado puking up a bunch of squid. I had him online and he was just hucking up all these squid. So since then I started tying a lot more flies with squid in mind. This particular pattern is kind of a cross between sardina and squid. Call it a Squardina or something else. Whatever I call it, it's a great fly, and it produces a lot of good Dorado. So I've started off with like a size 2/0 SL12 short by Gamakatsu. It's a really good saltwater fly. And just make a nice little base on the back side of it there. Throw that stuff away. Make sure that you glue down everything whenever you put down your first layer on your shank. Ooh, maybe not that much glue. We can work with that. But the first thing we'll start off with is some schlappen hackle, right? And this is basically just to give it a lot of motion off the back. It seems like a lot of motion whenever you're not moving the fly. Really drives Dorado pretty nuts. And there are a lot of them, a lot of big ones right now that are being caught in Mortos Bay. So just secure this down to the back. And you just want to give a little bit of a tail to the fly. All right. Put like maybe 4 of these on the back side of it. Bulk it up just a little bit. From there, I go to some ostrich herl. I just buy this in big strung packs like this because I end up going through quite a bit of it. This season I've really put a lot of that stuff on flies. So what I do is take about 4 or 5 of them and just hook them off on each side like this. And this is kind of a down and dirty pattern. You can tie a lot of these really quick. For our type of fishing that we do, a lot of it's bait and switch, so you kind of want to match the hatch whenever it comes to what you're bait and switching. But here's something that people in Mexico have not really figured out that I learned while tarpon fishing, right? So this ends up getting hooked around, looped around the hook quite a bit with patterns that people make there locally. So what you want to do is take your thread up and over and actually throw a couple of laps around this thing right here, around your tail. And what that's going to do is kind of raise that up a little bit, but whenever it gets wet, it kind of goes back down. But it's just a little bit of an extra measure to make it to where it doesn't wrap around, the bend of the hook. So from there, we're going to take another one of these schlappens, and we're just going to palmer it around that to kind of hide that a little bit and give it a little bit more fluff. So probably about, well, try not to mess it up like that, but if you do, cool, just do it again. Probably about 4 or 5 wraps around that. Bring that to the front, give a couple of wraps, then pull it all back, and then wrap back on itself like this, right? And you got a good fluffy back that's not going to get wrapped up. From there, I like to go with a little bit of sparkle, right? This is pearl. And this stuff comes really long, so I like to pull that apart a little bit, bring it over the fly completely like this, secure it down, like go loose with it for a couple of wraps and then tighten it down really well. And then just take this all from the front and go straight back like this and secure it all like that. And notice how that really fluffs that thing up and really makes it sparkle a bunch. From there, I'm gonna go with fake fur, right? And we're gonna go with white on the bottom and tan on the top. And that's gonna give it more of a sardina feel. But like I said, the more that you can just kind of make that fly sit there and breathe whenever it's not moving, the better off it's going to work for Dorado, which most of the time they want it, moving really, really fast. But if you stop it, it seems like they really want to see it kind of breathe in the water, right? So we're gonna actually take this and tie it on backwards. Secure it down really well, and then pull this back. I didn't do a very good job of getting that very uniformly distributed on the bottom. So I'll just pull it off and redo it, no problem. You see how that starts to form kind of a bell, right? So we're gonna do it on the top as well with a tan fake fur. And you want the long stuff, you want the really good long stuff that you can buy. But what I'm doing with this is I'm pulling it off and then I'm taking sort of these shorter fibers from the bottom out, right? And then shift it around like this. Secure it with one kind of loose wrap, make sure that everything's where I want it, and then secure it down. Pull it back and move on to the next one. So this is kind of a boring process of just doing the same thing 3 or 4 more times. And you know what I like to do with that? It's inappropriate joke time. So this guy goes over to his neighbor's house, knocks on the door, and the wife shows up, and she's in a towel and she's dripping wet from the shower. And he says, "Hey, what's going on, Barb?" Barb looks at him and says, "Oh, nothing, Bob. What's going on?" And he said, "Oh, nothing. I just came to drop something off for your husband. Hey, I always meant to tell you, you're a beautiful woman. And I've always thought that." And she said, "Well, thank you for letting me know that. That made my day." He said, "You know what? In fact, if you drop that towel and let me see your boobies, I'll give you $100. So she looks at him and says, "Well, I don't know what to say to that." She thinks to herself, that dress that I really wanted just went on sale for $100. She said, "You know what? I'll do it." So she drops her towel and shows him, and he gets his fill of that and says, "Okay, I'm satisfied. Here's your $100." And he turns around and leaves. Just about the time that the door shuts, her husband comes by and says, "Hey, who's at the door?" And she said, "Well, that was Bob." He said, "Oh, how's he doing?" He seems to be okay." He said, "Well, what do you have to say?" And she said, "Well, he was kind of in a hurry, had to leave real quick." He said, "Oh, did he give you the $100 that he borrowed from me?" Dun-dun-dun. Anyway, we're gonna bring this all the way to the front. Secure this down really well. Just work in that sort of same fashion there. And then one more little bit of white underneath the bottom of it. And we should be good to go. Now this is made like a hollow fly. So you really want that material to be kind of free-flowing, and you want it to move really, really well. So you don't really lock that down, if that makes sense. After you get that done, whip finish it. In the front. Make sure you glue that down with some super glue. I like to do this on both sides of it and try to make it to where I don't get it into that material so it doesn't stiffen that up. From there, we work with our shoe goo. Grab a couple of eyes. And again, this really isn't a pattern that, you know, looks exactly like one thing or another. It's kind of meant to look a little bit like both. Kind of like a woolly bugger. You know, you look at a woolly bugger and you say, you know, what in the world is that supposed to look like exactly? Well, it doesn't exactly look like anything. It looks like everything. That's kind of why it works. The old shoe goo is getting kind of old. Anyway, I just put that on the eye and then put the eye directly on there, and try not to pinch it down too much. You still want that movement, right? And grab another one. And squeeze for your life. The cool thing about this shoe goo is once that stuff gets in the material, it tends to stay there. Now I've done it. I'm going to push that down with a needle or a bobbin or something a little bit. Just kind of work it into the material. Snip off anything extra that you have on there that you don't like. And then there you have it. Not necessarily a sardina, not necessarily a squid, but it'll work in a pinch for both of them. A little bit of shine to it, not a whole lot. One downside to this thing is if there is a lot of needlefish in the area, this fake fur tends to stick in their teeth a little bit better than a lot of other things that are around. So some of the coarser materials like the SF fibers tends to slip out of their teeth a little bit better, but you know, if you don't have needlefish around, or if you can keep this fly away from them, it's a very effective pattern for Dorado. So I'm Donnie, and this is the Squardina. Good luck with this thing. It's really produced a lot of really good fish for me, and I hope it does the same for you. If you like this video, please subscribe to us and check out our other stuff. And if there's anything that I can help you with specifically on saltwater patterns or even some freshwater patterns, give a holler. I love teaching people stuff that I've learned over the course of the years that I've been doing this. So, cheers.